Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Adriana Monique Alvarez. I'm with Alma Publishing, and I'm so excited to be continuing our conversations with the contributors of Awakening. Natalie, I'm so glad that you're here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pure joy to be here with you and talk to you personally. Thanks, Adriana.
Oh, I'm excited. Now, tell me where you're joining us from.
I live in Newcastle, Australia, which is just a couple of hours up the coast from Sydney.
Okay, nice.
I know you've been to Sydney.
Yes, and
I'm up in the Hunter Valley area of Australia.
Okay, I recall hearing about this area.
Yes.
Now, tell me a little bit about the chapter that you wrote and why you chose this topic.
Oh, well, the chapter that I wrote is about how women who feel like they've had this ingrained pattern of losing themselves in all of their relationships. You know, they're just not showing up as who they are. They're sacrificing themselves. They're not factoring themselves into their life at all. And that comes through as, you know, overgiving and being perfect and trying to control things. And that deeply ingrained pattern causes a lot of suffering. So I shared with women how they can actually break that pattern, which tends to be inherited and ancestral. It tends to have been running through generations. And I wanted to share with women that they can actually break that and find true joy and unconditional love and confidence and true inner peace here right now on this planet. And the why I did that and why I share about this topic is because it's my whole life. It's been my life journey, my personal journey, and my professional journey of living. I lived a very small, very, very small life with really, really low self-worth, incredible fears and anxieties just driving me all the time. The fear of not being loved, the fear of not being liked, the fear of being judged, rejected, all of that. I was suffered in that for decades. And I went on a long, long journey to come out of that, but it wasn't until I found a key to freedom that I really did come to life and really was able to show up in every relationship of my life as who I really am. And there's an incredible freedom in that. And that's what I want to share with all women who also feel like they've been suffering and they're ready for that kind of freedom and peace.
Yeah, and you have to be ready, right? And one of the things I found so, like, it just, you know, jumped out at off the page was when you spoke about your first husband and how he passed away at a young age and how that was such a wake-up call for you.
Yes, I feel like, because my husband, my beautiful husband, Greg, who was the absolute love of my life, he died at the age of 42. I was 35 at the time. And he actually died from the effects of alcoholism, right? And we had been in this very codependent relationship for, 10, 12 years, something like that. But I wasn't consciously aware at that time that that's what was happening, right? But when he died, you know, he died at home with me, surrounded by family. I'd nursed him for 6 months. It was intense. It was painful. But in that moment, you know, I was holding his hand when he took his last breath. And you know what I felt? Absolute regret. In that moment, I was like, how could I have wasted all of my time with this beautiful man and not loved him unconditionally because I was in so much pain myself? You know, I was had so much fears and insecurities, and it was all about, does he love me, you know, and can I fix him and make him into this perfect person that I need him to be so I look good in society, you know? It was all about me. And I thought, wow, I have robbed him of the gift of me being the most confident, whole, loving woman, powerful woman that I was capable of, but I had no clue how to do it. And I felt like I'd ripped him off. That's how I felt. And I looked back at all the other relationships that came before that, and they were all exactly the same. Like, there was a pattern here. These people had addictions, and I was trying to fix them and all of this stuff to give myself some sense of worthiness. I hid in all of those relationships. They were my excuse not to do anything with my own life.
Mm.
So, that regret I felt, it was painful. And I was like, no, I have to turn this around. I'm not going to go into another relationship taking this sad, sorry person that I am with me. So I started down this really deep journey of personal development. And I moved through a lot of stuff, as we do. I moved through a lot of stuff. And then I met my second husband. And you know what I thought? I thought, you know what? If I just marry someone who doesn't have addictions, then that'll solve the problem. Right? So I married someone who didn't have addictions. And you know what? Didn't solve how I felt about myself. So I go into this relationship with this other man, and I'm still acting out all of my shit. I'm still trying to control him and manipulate him and mold him into the way I wanted to be. And I still couldn't speak up, and I still couldn't deal with my own anger, and I still couldn't ask for what I needed and wanted, all of that stuff. And I was so triggered by my second husband. Honestly, for the first 5 years of my life, every other week I was leaving him. My friends were like so sick of it. Like, they were listening to me go, I'm like, that's it. I never said it was his fault. I never said that. I was just like, I'm in so much pain in this relationship. I've just got to get out of here. I just got to leave, right? I didn't see it at the time that I was in fight, flight kind of mode. But that went on for 5 years until one day I realized that the pattern was in me. It had nothing to do with him. It was in me. All of these triggers and stuff were coming from deep inside of me. And I could leave him, but he could bet $1 million I'd just go and repeat the same thing somewhere else. And I also realized it wasn't just with him that I felt, insecure and needed him to, needed to people please him and have him like me and all this stuff. It was everywhere. It was with friends, it was with family, it was at work.
Yeah.
So I really had to own that, and my poor husband, bless his soul, he's so patient. He just sat through the whole thing. And every time I went, that's it, I've got to leave, I've got to get out of here. You know what he'd say? He'd say, babe, so I am so sorry you're in so much pain. I love you so much. I love you so much. I just want you to be happy. And if that means that you have to be in a different relationship or leave, that's okay. That's cool with me, because I love you and I want you to be happy. And I'll help you to leave. I'll help you get a new place if you like. Because he was just loving me unconditionally. And I'm like, who is this person? Who does this shit? Right? I don't know. And that was like, he just kept loving me unconditionally because he didn't have the issues I did. And I went, oh, my God. One day I just woke up and I thought, I actually don't know how to love unconditionally. I think I'm the most loving person in the world, and I'm the nicest person in the world. God help me, I want everybody to think I'm nice, right? But everything I was doing was conditional. It's like, I'm going to do this for you, so you do this for me, kind of thing, on an unconscious level. So, yeah, I'd made a decision I wasn't going to leave until I didn't want to leave anymore. Which meant I wanted to find absolute peace in myself, absolute acceptance of him as who he was as a person. And only then, if my soul said, Nat, it's time to move on, then go. But don't go with all the same old patterns and pain in me. So then I just kind of reached out and went, all right, I've done every personal development thing you could ever think of, big long list, and I still feel stuck. So I basically Googled, help, women's empowerment, help. And this amazing tool came up in my face right there. And the training was a plane ride away. That happened on the Wednesday. I was in the training by the Monday and totally changed everything. Wow. And in that training, I was able to get to the real core, deep issues of all those fears, all those anxieties, all those insecurities, all the guilt I felt as a woman. Guilt was my biggest thing. I was consumed with guilt, carrying all this guilt around, like just like my mother did, and her mother did, and her mother did. And I was like, why do I feel guilty about everything? No, I got to let it go. I got to let it go. And when I let guilt go, it was just like this massive weight lifted off my shoulders, massive weight. And I could just feel everything shift. I was like, no. So I came back to that. I came back home and I was like this completely different person. And my husband's like, oh, thank God for that. Under his breath, thank God for that, you know. Now I can deal with a real person, you know, all that unbullshit conditional baggage, whatever, all the beliefs that I had about how I had to show up in relationships to be loved. Just let all that go and just be me. Just be me. You know, and that was always my biggest dream. I had this mantra, probably from the time I was about 15. I just want to love myself. I just want to be myself. I just want to be happy. I just want to love myself. I just want to be myself. I just want to be happy. You know, so when I found that when I was 46, I'm like, man, this is gold. Everybody needs this.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, even what I do.
Even that mantra, like, today I saw in a group that I'm in, and there was a mother who was basically saying, you know, her daughter is struggling and she's struggling. And it was just like everything, like she just wants her daughter to be able to be herself in school. Right. And she just wants to be able to be herself with her children. And so when you said that, it just got me. And I was telling you, this has not been the easiest day with my children, you know, and I see it's just like, I literally said that. I said, this child is helping me see where I do not love unconditionally,
yes.
right?
Yes, yes.
And those are the lessons. And so tell me how you help women with this now.
Well, it's interesting you just shared about that, your friend and her child, because the women who come to work with me, they know deep down inside that they're the ones who've been chosen to be the change makers in their family, in their line, you know, in their ancestral line. And they feel out of integrity because they've got all this information and they're telling all their clients and their children and their friends, just love yourself, just accept yourself, just be happy. But inside, they don't feel that way. There's not a match. So it's, as a mother then, it's very challenging to role model to your children something that you don't feel for yourself. So I talk to a lot of women who have daughters and they go, I can see my daughter repeating all the past, you know, the mistakes that I've made, particularly in relationship, and oh my God, how am I going to help her? I said, you know what, the most powerful thing you can do to help her is to change you, is to make sure you're not doing that. Make sure you've broken that pattern. Make sure you truly can say to your daughter, this is how it feels to love yourself. I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be whole and complete and integrated. It's painful when you're not walking the talk, right? It's just words.
That's powerful. And kids, yes, they cannot be fooled. Like, kids are no fools.
No. They know exactly where those little spots are, right? So a woman usually comes to me when she's had that realization for herself that she's out of integrity somewhere, like it's painful. And she wants to break that pattern in herself, which will, of course, then break it. It'll have a ripple effect. It'll have a ripple effect out. But I say to her, the first step you have to do is you have to make a very powerful decision from your soul that you are actually going to step into your full power as an authentic woman of integrity. That is a powerful decision. You can't just come and go, fix me. No, no. This is coming from deep within, that you're making a decision that you're actually going to step out of fears and insecurities and frustrations and hurts and let go of all of the crap and everything you're holding on to from that and step into true unconditional love, unshakable confidence and true inner peace. That's a decision. And to do that, there's two things you have to do. You have to give up all blame. All blame. Yeah, that's simple, right? No.
We can give up alcohol. We can give up sugar. We can give up
all blame. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges, particularly for women. We can unconsciously, without even knowing it, be addicted to being a bit of a victim and blaming everybody else for how we feel, and they did that to me, and how could they treat me this way after all I've done for them? We can be amazing martyrs. I was the biggest martyr in the world. I tell you, when I saw that in myself, I was like, I'm going to throw up. But hey, I had to see it to own it. And that's one of the things they have to do, is to really own it. Wait a minute, I've caused all this suffering to myself. I'm causing suffering in my relationships. It's not out there, it's in here. And then the second thing they have to do is acknowledge if they have what I call secondary gain, which means consciously they might be going, yes, I want to be in my power. Yes, I want to be there. But underneath they're going, actually, it's quite comfortable here in my uncomfortableness. It's quite nice here, thanks very much. Or I'm getting a lot of sympathy out of my story. People are feeling sorry for me, because my husband doesn't love me, and all this string of bad boyfriends or whatever it is. If you're getting something out of it, whether you're gaining pleasure or you're trying to avoid pain of change, then you're not ready. You're not ready, because that secondary gain is powerful, as you know, and it will hold you there. So in that first step, that's what somebody has to work through to be able to get to this second step. And this is the tool. It's a revolutionary tool that is available on the planet now that most people don't know about. It's called Creatrix. It was actually designed by a woman specifically for women. When she realized that there's so many women out there on the planet doing every personal development thing under the sun, and for a lot of women it doesn't stick, it doesn't last. And she asked the question, her name's Marilyn, she asked the question, why doesn't it stick? And she came up with a couple of things. She realized, first of all, that a lot of personal development on the planet has actually been created by men in men's minds. Right? The origin is in a male mind, for starters. But men and women are different, eh? We are so different in so many ways, right? And women have something that men don't have. Or females. I'm going to say females. Females have something that males don't have. They have a womb that can create life. Males don't have that. So she then hypothesized that women then, maybe females, have access to a feminine unconscious mind that has all of the answers of creation in it, because we know how to grow a baby, and science has never, ever, ever been able to figure that shit out, right?
That's right.
But if we know how to do it unconsciously, we don't even have to do anything. It just happens. So she hypothesized that we women, I have to say females because I'm talking about people born with a uterus, we have access to something so incredibly powerful that males don't know about and can't access. So what if we had created a tool that helped women to go there, to find their answers there? And that's what she did. And that's what she created. And it's only been around maybe 7 or 8 years. And people don't need to know where their pain came from. They don't need to know where their issues came from. They don't need to relive all their traumas. They don't need to say, oh, my God, I'm this way because my father didn't love me. No, none of that. It's just this beautiful mix of spirituality and science come together to help a woman find her own answers, where she basically just turns the switch from on to off. That's it. So it breaks my heart when I hear somebody say, oh, well, I've just been anxious my whole life, or I'm just never going to feel good enough. And a lot of women think that that's okay. A lot of women think, oh, that's normal. It might be normal because it's so many women experiences, but it's not natural. It's not natural. So when they actually can release themselves from this pain and suffering inside, what happens is they come home to themselves. They come home to themselves on this deepest level, and all of the broken pieces come together. So it's like this beautiful whole and complete feeling and a deep knowing that I am loved and I am going to be okay no matter what. No matter what. And then from there, all of those things where they're looking outside of themselves for validation, and it kind of drops away. And then the third step is being willing to make those changes that you've got to make in your life. You know, and sometimes, you know, it's big changes. Sometimes women have to leave a relationship that's truly not in their best interest. Or maybe they have to have the courage to actually go out there again and meet someone new and give themselves a chance, you know, or leave a crappy job, whatever it is that's not serving them. Nobody can take that action for them. Only they can. But they're never going to do it when they're carrying all of this baggage and this old, heavy, dark story. You know, it's just not going to happen.
No.
And then plus they have to learn new skills like boundaries, communication, the difference between men and women. You know, that's all skills and knowledge that we don't naturally just show up with.
No.
Particularly when we haven't had it role model to us.
Very true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm sitting here going, yeah, we need this. We need this.
Yes, exactly. And the interesting thing is, you know, it's not for everybody because you've got to be ready for it. But when you're ready for it, it's like whoosh, so much joy, so much peace, so much relief. You mean I don't have to do that anymore? But I tell you, it's a little bit scary to go, who am I really underneath this identity of this people-pleasing kind of person that I've become? Who is that? And that is a little bit scary, right? And that's kind of part of my role as the facilitator, is to hold that space of rebirthing. But it's not rebirthing. I'm not rebirthing anybody. But it is that being consciously aware that someone's going to go through a whole letting go of an old identity and allowing of who they really are to show up. And that's vulnerable. That's vulnerable.
So true. And that's why, you know, the thing I loved about your chapter and your story is that you've lived it. You've walked it. So you're not from afar going, oh yeah, that's step 1 and 2. You know it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know it within every cell of my being. And so when somebody shows up in front of me, I can already see them on the other side. I can see exactly how they're going to get there and who they're going to be on the other side. And that's what I hold in my heart, and I hold that vision. And all they have to do is be willing, as we talked about before, take a leap of faith. Take a leap of faith. This is not something that is a logical, rational decision to make. But I tell you, by the time someone makes it to me, they know in every cell of their being that they cannot go on one more day the way they have been. Right? Usually there's been a significant birthday, you know, they're turning 50, they're turning 60, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a loved one, a loss of their health. You know, something it's boom, a turning point. So wake up. Do you really want to keep doing this for the rest of your life? I forgot where I was going with that.
That's okay.
Because as soon as I talked about loss,
oh yes,
I've had some losses in my life just recently, and that just connected me with that again. But it is a decision. It really is. And interestingly, I just had somebody call me recently who's a friend of mine, and we went through like 10 years of inner child therapy together, you know, bashing things and expressing her anger and all of that stuff. And then I came across Creatrix, and she goes, that's just too woo-woo for me, Nat. That's just too woo-woo. You know, you go and do that and I'll continue on my journey, right? Then she called me about a month ago, and she goes, Nat, I've been on that journey for another 4 years and nothing's changed. I'm still in the same place that I was, going around and around and around with my self-esteem issues and why didn't my mother love me and all of this stuff. And you've moved on and you're free and you're joyful and you're peaceful and you've got a beautiful, I'm still married to the same man and we're blissfully happy. How the hell did that happen? Right, it happened because I changed, you know, and that was not just with him, but with my people that I'd struggled in relationship with in my family. Everything, it's like this miracle has happened. And I believe that's just about energy. But my friend has now said, okay, I'm prepared to take a leap of faith because I know in my gut what you're telling me is true for me. What you're telling me that I have this wisdom in my own womb to know how to heal myself. That might sound woo-woo to some people, but it feels very, very true and real for me. I'm ready, babe. I'm like, yes.
I love it. And that's what it takes. Like we were talking about, it's that open heart and that willingness to act on faith.
Yeah, absolute faith. Absolute faith. And I feel that's one of the biggest gifts that comes out of when someone's allowed themselves to go through this kind of transformation, is they get so strongly connected to their own intuition, which to me is like God speaking through you, right? Before they were just so shut off for that. They were numb. They were questioned it. They didn't trust it. They still looked outside of themselves. But when they reconnect with that and they start to go, you know what? I'm going to trust my gut on everything. Yeah. That's powerful. That's really, really powerful and opens up a whole other experience of life and relationships.
Beautiful. Natalie, how can people connect with you?
Oh, the easiest way is to go to my website, which is natalieannmurray.com. And on that website, I share a free training, which I invite people to download. It goes for about an hour, and it's called How to Be a Woman of Integrity. And it helps people to start to notice some hidden ways that they've been given their power away that they weren't even aware of, so that they can start to do something different. And if they feel from there that they're ready for this kind of decision and transformation, then they can just book a free chat with me. We'll meet and have a chat, and we'll know pretty quick if I'm the right person for them and it's the right time.
Beautiful.
And I think the other interesting thing that I did want to share with you is what makes this work different is because it's from the creator of life. This work is totally guaranteed. Like there's nothing, very little out there on the planet in personal development land that's totally guaranteed, but I can totally, absolutely guarantee somebody's results if they, you know, make that decision. And that's unique on its own.
Very true.
Because I know it's not coming from me or anybody else. It's coming from in here. Once you know, you can't unknow, right? Once you know, you cannot unknow.
Very true. Natalie, I'm a fan. I love your work, and I really appreciate you being here, taking the time.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure for me and to get to know you too. And I wish you all the best in your journey as well, Adriana, because I know that things are changing for you.
Yes,
You're going into a new chapter, which is so exciting.
Thank you. And I want to remind everyone to pick up their copy of Awakening. Go to Natalie's chapter, read her story, connect with her there. And if you would like to be in our next book, Visionary, I will put the link to the application below. Here's to living hearts wide open. Until next time, big hugs from Colorado. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.